Hey, you guys. Happy 2021. I know it's kind of like, ma'am, we're well into 2021. Well, happy spring, I guess. Happy April. I don't know. Anyways, I am so excited to do my first live stream. It's been since last year since I did a live stream, and this year is very special because I'm putting out a new project. It's technically like my fourth project, and I'm working with some major artists that I cannot wait to just tell you guys about. But the biggest thing that I was talking to with my team is I love vlogging. I love talking about the entertainment business. I love talking about the arts. And we came up with a 31 days campaign. And this campaign, I wanted to kick off with a company that I met when I was doing some work with another company called Generator. And they were doing a pitch night. And their pitch was like everything that I needed as an artist. And come to find out, when we were planning the 31 days campaign, I was like, we should really kick it off with this company called Remark. And what better way than to start with Remark? I'll show you all about them. I'm going to actually show you guys a video before we get started, and I'm going to introduce you guys to the CEO. His name is Jeremy, and we have become lifelong friends and business partners at this point. And so I felt like all artists needed to hear about how to create sustainability in the industry, especially since COVID. Live streaming is slowly coming back. But of course, reading all the articles and seeing how many things we have to continue to endure as artists, to me, still at the bottom of the totem pole of making income and really seeing transparency, Remark is that solution. So without further ado, I'm going to play their 4-minute intro, and then we're going to go into all the things that they are doing for artists and the mobility for independent artists, especially. And so I hope you guys enjoy this live stream. It is the first one ever, and there's so many more to come.
Hello, I'm Jeremy, founder and CEO of Remark. We're an audience relationship management company solving direct-to-fan communication for creators. As a creator, you don't own your audience because social media and streaming platforms control the means of communication and engagement. This directly translates to lost income. Today, artists require multiple services to engage their audience across channels via social ads, scheduled posts, SMS, and email marketing. Altogether, creators and their teams often manage over 10 different communication channels, each with a unique audience. But what if you could manage all of your communication from one place? Well, I'm here to share with you how you can do just that with our solution. Here at Remark, we're building a centralized communication hub for all creator audiences. Artists, managers, agents, and labels can use our tool to engage their fans on platforms they're already using via social ads, scheduled posts, email, and SMS campaigns. In addition, our users can get detailed insights, including streaming data, on their performance and invite their team to securely collaborate with them. So, how easy is it for our users to get started? Well, to quote the Jackson 5, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and users can be up and running in a matter of minutes. So, step 1, sign up and create a talent profile. Step 2, sync your data from social, streaming, and subscriber lists. And 3, begin to supercharge your audience engagement with direct-to-fan, email and SMS messaging, omnichannel ads, and growth strategies. We're offering our solution starting at $19 per month, powered by a pay-as-you-go structure for messaging and advertising services, backed by our in-platform credit system, which is one-to-one with the US dollar. As a result, Remark's solution is flexible and scales with our users' needs. So, what's the value of this opportunity? Well, Remark is positioned as part of the global CRM market, a sector which is still growing, but we look specifically at the music space to develop our initial market size, with a TAM of 7.8 billion, SAM of 2.4 billion, and SOM of 371 million. Now, what's really cool about our business model is that the majority of our sales will be done through a network of reseller partnerships, helping us bring our solution to existing user bases. In doing so, we'll provide value to our partners through revenue and data sharing, as well as increase our value to users by integrating directly with our partners' APIs. So how will it work? Using the Powered by Remark moniker, we'll provide custom skins of our product hosted on dedicated domains that will reflect the branding of our partners. Complete with single sign-on technology, we'll provide a seamless branded experience for our partners' existing user bases to take full advantage of our combined feature set. At Remark, we're an international team of innovators with decades of experience in music, business, and software development. Because of our first-hand experience and insider knowledge of both the music and tech industries, we're ideally suited to deliver the solution I'm outlining for you today. Collectively, our team has more than 100 years experience in our industries and has worked at leading companies including Universal, Warner, Red Bull, and Oracle. The global pandemic has highlighted the importance of digital communication for artists, as it's the only way they can now engage their audience. There are over 25 million creators who need to communicate with billions of fans worldwide, and yet there is no one platform that helps them effectively manage their audience communication across channels. Remark's solution is perfectly designed to solve this timely need. Thank you.
So, you guys, without further ado, I don't know if one of the biggest things I learned from their presentation when I first saw it last year was that you don't own your audience, to all artists and creatives. So I want to introduce to you guys Mr. Jeremy. He's the CEO of Remark Technology. He has a Bachelor of Music degree in jazz performance with a minor in business administration from Sonoma State University and an MA in global entertainment and music business from Berklee College of Music. I'm so excited to bring you guys Jeremy. He has done so many milestones with the company, and this is just the beginning. So I want to introduce to you guys Mr. Jeremy Vaughn.
Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for an amazing intro and for having me on your live stream kicking off 2021. It's so exciting to be here and chat with you today.
I'm so excited that you're here. I want to just get right to it. I mean, because I'm one of those people, like, I don't like the fluff. I want to get right to it. When you say audiences or artists we don't own our audience, what is Remark and how do you guys help us artists and creatives to own our audience?
Yeah, it's a great question. So a lot of artist engagement happens on these platforms like Spotify or Facebook or Instagram, that sort of stuff. And really the value that Facebook and these streaming platforms capture is our engagement as a listener and creator, right? And their biggest value is our contribution to making those great experiences. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they actually, on their end, they control who sees what kind of content through the algorithms, or what content is placed where. And those relationships, when let's say we're having this conversation via direct message on Instagram, we don't actually, if Instagram was to go away tomorrow, that relationship would be gone. We would not be able to connect anyway beyond that if we didn't have a phone number or an email address and anything like that. So basically, what we're saying when we say that you don't own your audience is that because so much of your engagement takes place on what we call third-party platforms like social media or music streaming, even on Spotify, you don't as an artist have a real direct connection with your fans that you can kind of take if you wanted to, you wanted to shift from Instagram to TikTok, for example, or you wanted to send people a text message or an email. You can't really do that very easily unless you have that direct contact information. So what we're doing at Remark is we're building, social tools so you can still engage those audiences online, but also developing what we call a CRM or customer resource management platform, so you can capture those emails or phone numbers and have direct relationships with your audience.
Well, that's so interesting that you said that, like, us not being able to own our audience and then it's being stretched so wide, right? The algorithms, which do not help us, right? I was talking with my team and we submitted a topic to South by Southwest. We didn't get chosen, but one of it was post-pandemic production. Where do you see either artists being able to have the opportunity to talk more with companies like you or technologists to really understand the algorithms. Because at this point, articles are coming out every day. You know, things are being pushed to us that are not necessarily have anything to do with either our passion, our occupation. It's more world issues. And then we're seeing that it's even in the documentary Social Dilemma, we're being pitted against each other because of not just false information, but because of the algorithm. So can you explain like what that really means to what we're seeing right now? Like if I'm following Jeremy or Jeremy's following me, why aren't we seeing your content all the time? And why aren't you seeing my content? And how artists can really push through all of that information?
Yeah, it's a great question. So basically, just in sort of I'm not no social media algorithm expert or anything like that for those companies, but in sort of my understanding as a user, an active user, and kind of working in this space, basically what Instagram, or for example, tries to do is tries to show each user the thing that Instagram believes will keep them on Instagram for as long as possible. So if you every day when you go and check in, you go to say Ashley's Instagram page and you watch all of her stories and you're there every single day, the first thing you'll see when you come back to Instagram is Ashley's content. But if you're not looking at all of the artist content you follow, I follow over like 300 people on Instagram, so it's hard to keep up every single day with all those things. So I don't necessarily see all of the content because Instagram thinks, okay, well, I only want to see Ashley and I want to see the Lakers, and that's it. So it will only show me those two different things intermixed with some ads. So basically, if you think about it from Instagram's perspective, their goal is to keep each user on the platform as long as possible, engaging with what content it thinks you're going to be most engaged with.
But let's talk about that though. Don't you think at some point this bubble that is becoming so much content, where can people who like my music or your music or someone else's music, how can they stay more focused on, because there's going to be constant content coming out, right? How can Remark help us to monetize our audience? And of course, think about it. You have all these artists, right? There was an article that said, or you guys said, how many artists get added to iTunes every Friday? Over 60,000 artists, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, it's 60,000 new tracks are uploaded to Spotify every single day.
So how can audiences, and you guys chime in as well, how can audiences not go broke by supporting us, and how do we capture that monetization? Because some people will be more supportive of one artist over another. Like, is there a way to kind of divide the pie equally?
Yeah, I think it's about this concept of we work with this idea of building a fan base of your 1,000 true fans, if you will. So focusing, instead of trying to reach every single person, focusing on those 1,000 fans who really love or support your music, and doing that through direct communication channels like email or SMS, for example. So those are ways where there's no algorithm, there's no barrier to having a direct relationship with an artist. So if you have a single coming out, or this 31 days of action that you're working on, and your best fans really want to make sure that they're keeping in touch with everything, all the exciting things you're doing, subscribing to an email list or even to your personal phone number, that's the best way to have a direct connection. So being able to message an artist or your favorite creator just like you would your friends or family.
But
that's the best way.
But how much content is too much, right? If we're texting each other, we're already texting our friends and family, and then we have our supporters who now have us through SMS, text messaging. How much content is too much? Or would you say, from Remark's point of view, with the technology advancing, is it never too much?
No, it's a good question. I think we've definitely reached saturation, what's called the attention economy, which is basically now Netflix's biggest competitor is sleep, right? So that's just kind of a fun thought exercise to think about that. But yeah, there's so much content out there that's competing for our attention every single minute of the day, whether or not you're at home or just on the computer or out in the quote unquote real world, not living in the metaverse like we have been for the last year through COVID. But yeah, there's we've been definitely saturated with content, and there is definitely too much content. But it's being able to filter out as an artist or as a consumer or a fan what content you find the most valuable. And so then to flip it back to the creator side, it's being able to understand what your audience finds most valuable about what you do, and making sure that you're leaning into that, and making sure that your fans are interest in what you're doing is satisfied by being able to access what they love most about you.
So now that we know people are following X artists, right? What would you say is the first step to any independent artist right now as far as getting towards that $1,000 mark of having supporters? What is the first thing outside of having the content, or maybe even suggesting what content to start with on the smaller scale to make sure that they get their $1,000 fans? And then what would you say is like, where would you start? Where would you encourage an artist today to start? Would you say getting emails? And then have you noticed emails are still like the champion of communication? I think mail is. I love putting cards in the mail, but that's just me. But what do you say? Where would you say is the first place to really start? Or where is something that you've noticed artists have negated some information to get content out?
Yeah, great question. I was on a Clubhouse room a couple nights ago, and I think it was with Raised in Space, really cool music VC, as well as a management company called 740 Projects. And one of the things that they said, which I thought I totally agree with and think is very cool, is the idea of Twitter actually being the most influential kind of social platform right now. For artists as well, because it gives you the ability to kind of not only post your own content, but join the conversation with something else that you're passionate about. And that's a great way of starting to build audience. So where you're not just necessarily posting a picture every day and hoping people come and like it, but trying to join the conversation. And that's one of the ways that these social platforms really work as well, is they sort of reward commenting and engagement and push those things, those posts further to more audiences. So I would definitely say joining a conversation is a great way to start building audience and growing that. And then absolutely collecting emails. Emails are still, the bread and butter of marketing and communication and building an audience. And text message is something that we're very passionate about as well at Remark. But I would say probably saving that until you have at least 100, 200 fans, just to make sure that you're getting the most value out of that, because it can be expensive just to pay for sending text messages and all that sort of stuff. So number one, I would say find a conversation that you're passionate about, that you can authentically engage in, or build an audience that way by sharing your thoughts or your opinions, or even if it's that your favorite song that you're listening to that week or something like that. Maybe make a playlist of some favorite music, but stick your own song in there and then share that on Twitter. That could be a great way to start building audience.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, well then, after they have well, first of all, I love Twitter. I feel like Twitter is so underrated. When Instagram and Facebook went completely out, then Twitter, people were laughing on Twitter like, Twitter is still here. It's kind of like the MySpace of this generation, to me, my generation, but that's where I get all my news from. But I guess the question would become, where should an artist start? So do you think the website, still having a website, is valuable? As of course, that's where the MailChimps and all of that stuff comes in at. But do you think the website is still the most important? And then once they get with Remark, like, let's just start talking about how Remark can help enhance what they already have, or that foundation. Let's start with that. What foundation do you think artists should have before maybe coming and partnering with Remark?
Yeah, great question. So you definitely need to have a website. I mean, that's, it's important that people can find you. It doesn't have to be super complicated, just single one pager or something like that. It's very easy to do that. Definitely have that. Make sure you have your social media set up. Doesn't matter necessarily how many followers you have, just making sure that you're available and discoverable on each one of the platforms. It's great to have, sort of at least one kind of keystone piece of content that you can build your messaging around, whether that's just one single, it's a video on YouTube, it's a cover of something like that. Those are great places to start. When it comes to Remark, we do focus a little bit on our value with artists who, like you, Ashley, who have more of an established fan base already and are looking to kind of optimize some of your communication or manage a larger fan base. So that's definitely where there's more value. Not to say that an artist who is just starting out can't find value, but basically one of the main things that we do is we try and bring all of your communication and messaging and data analytics all into one place. And if you don't have necessarily a lot of stuff happening yet with your fan base because you're just starting out, the value that you're going to receive from Remark is going to be a little bit less than the value that you actually would receive from Remark by having a more engaged audience that you've started to build up. So I would say, if you're just starting out, start building a community, start engaging on these platforms and build up your following to get people interested in what you have to share or what you're working on.
Well, that is so good to know. Thank you so much. I guess another question I would ask is what kind of content have you noticed really is soaring for artists right now? Is merchandise, because let's be real, we're in a pandemic. Are people really spending money on artist merchandise? Are artists really putting investment into their SMS or either tangible products to get out? Like, what have you been noticing a trend of?
Yeah, definitely merchandise is important. I would say there's kind of a trade-off with merchandise where it's, it's important that there's a story around it instead of necessarily just putting a logo on a t-shirt and saying, hey, got some merchandise, who wants to buy it, right? So I think trying to be creative with it and showcasing your creativity, even if you're not necessarily the most awesome graphic designer or visual artist, finding someone to partner with, doing a collab. We've seen Little Ass X do his collaboration with the very controversial sneaker this last couple of weeks. But that's that's a very high level example of merchandise driving a conversation, and really the success of that campaign in particular is that everybody's been talking about it and now are listening to the song and watching the video, which is kind of the goal of it. I would say from my perspective, which they've done really well, not necessarily selling the shoe itself or any of those sorts of different things. But yeah, I think merchandise is great. Other things to consider are, a Patreon type of fan subscription is another great way of generating revenue. And then of course, live streaming, doing some live performances, which is another rate of source of revenue. But also live streaming is actually a particularly great way of capturing what we call first party data, which is, the email address, the name, the phone number, that sort of stuff, so that you can, later contact those fans or invite them to a live gig when that does come back, maybe hopefully at the end of this year or beginning of next year. So there's a lot of different strategies, from building revenue models across multiple platforms, across different types of products, whether that's a Patreon subscription, merchandise, plus you've got your streaming. Those are just some different examples of how you can build what we call like an omni-channel or multi-channel revenue stream.
Wow, I know I'm so behind on my Patreon. I just feel like every time people are like, can you sing for my aunt? Can you sing for my cousin, a birthday thing? I'm like, maybe this is a Patreon idea. I have a question that came in. So it says, what's Jeremy's prediction for where the industry will be going since technology will continue to advance and everything else seems to be so astroturfed that you don't know what's real and what's not? Really great question. Thank you, Andre, for that question. Jeremy, that's a question for you before I ask my final question.
Yeah, it's a great question, Andre. There's been a lot of stuff right now with NFTs and blockchain and these kind of future-looking technologies about artists being able to create assets that are just based in the digital space and being able to monetize those and connect in different ways, or other things like creator coins, which is basically like, if you're familiar with cryptocurrency or anything like that, it'd be like having your own sort of Bitcoin where fans could invest in you and buy that coin. And it's another kind of way of crowdfunding, but also of status, and saying, if I bought the coin, I could say that, hey, I'm part of your club, I'm supporting you, and maybe because I hold a coin, I can get some special access to a live stream or a tour or some early access to merch or something like that. So the future of definitely the industry is definitely going towards this blockchain space. Is something that we've been looking into at Remark and seeing how we can engage with that and support creators who are releasing and creating NFTs. But I would say there's still a lot of work to be done, just sort of on the basic kind of things of building merchandise businesses, building cross-channel revenue streams that the music industry hasn't fully adopted yet. Obviously, there are artists at the top of the game, or artists like you, Ashley, who are thinking about all this kind of stuff, and I think more artists should be thinking about that versus just saying, hey, I want to get my song on a playlist and hope that it gets to 1 million plays. There's so many more activities. There's so much more opportunities that technology has, enabled the artists to do, and the barriers to entry are so low compared to what they used to be. So just thinking outside the box, and there's so much stuff that you can try on some of the things that we talked about today. But I would definitely say blockchain, NFTs, kind of cryptocurrency, Web3 technology, that's where it's going. But there's still a lot of work to be done today with what the tools we have available now. Sorry, I think you might be muted. Can't you?
Sorry. I said, do you think that Remark is going to go into blockchain eventually through you guys' portal, or is that a whole nother like stratosphere of trying to understand how to even get you guys to get the artists involved as well through Remark?
Yeah, actually, I just participated in a ETH Global NFT hackathon a couple weeks ago. We were working on this sort of CRM concept, which we actually won a prize for from Circle, which is the payment company behind NBA Top Shot, which was really exciting to get the validation of that. And yes, so we actually are looking into including support for NFTs and blockchain type of communication. And what right now, basically, there's Instagram and Facebook and Google are what is called kind of Web2 companies. Whereas NFTs and some of these more blockchain-based companies are called Web3. So we're kind of actually looking at Web 2.5, just to be clever. But just basically that means a platform where you could say, manage your NFT work and do some stuff on the blockchain while still being able to post to Instagram. So kind of a marriage of both sort of things together. So we are looking at that and working on that, and hopefully we'll have something out soon for that.
Well, congratulations. Okay, now you guys see why I had to kick off the 31 Days of Ashley Tamar campaign, because Jeremy's team, they have been so cutting edge, and it's very hard to meet people who pierce through the noise, as we say, and that's what made us work with them, and I'm so excited to work with them. So if you are not texting me on my new number through Remark, you are missing out on some exclusive information. So before we go, Jeremy, let's talk about how artists should sign up with Remark, like where do they go and all of that stuff. And so what would be the first thing that you would tell someone to do? Maybe get their email list first. I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but how can people go to Remark and sign up with you guys as artists and creatives?
Yeah, appreciate the shout out. Thank you. So just you can head over to our website, which is remark, RIMARK.io. And you can click on the top right. It says sign up. It's totally free. We're technically still in our beta testing period. We haven't launched yet. So there's no subscription fees, and we welcome anybody who wants to come and check it out. And then we do have a contact on there. And we would love to chat with any artist and help you get set up, get you started, and happy to consult on what audience you have now, how best to use the platform, all that sort of stuff. So I would just say come sign up, check it out, and then if it seems like something you're interested in, please do reach out and be more than happy to chat with you.
And then there was another question that came in. It says, how can a fan or average person make money off a Remark?
Well, an average person, you can certainly be an investor. How about that? There's no way to necessarily make money off of Remark at the moment. We're not a platform like an Instagram or Facebook. We're more of like a Hootsuite or a MailChimp or Salesforce kind of a business tool.
Oh, well, there's your answer, Mr. Lava, Mr. or Mrs. Lava Heat. Jeremy, do you have anything else to say about the topics of like the algorithms and Remark, social media, artists, and how to like really pierce through once again the noise before we go?
Well, I would love to actually hear your thoughts on it, actually, from an artist perspective. I think we've heard a lot about business stuff from me, but I'd love to know your experience and kind of what kind of gets you excited or things that you're thinking about on this space.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I've had to pivot and I'm enjoying my new pivot role. But I think it's just very baffling to see articles about fake Spotify accounts. I think a lot of artists do not know about that. A lot of the playlists that people are wanting to get on, they are curated by people, but some of them are really just fake accounts, which is where they don't have to pay the labels and the artists and the publishers the money. And I just really want a lot of artists to really take full advantage of really putting hand to plow per se, like with technology like Remark. And Remark is being so great with making sure we have that direct connection. It has been hard for me because I'm like not a fan of putting the phone up to my face or, like always talking, but I had to start thinking about what am I great at? And I'm great at educating people about the business. And so I started making creative ways to be show my comedic side and my teacher skills, by doing these cool vlogs about things that really happen for artists, like hook me up with this or, teach me this. And it's like, well, you want me to teach you all this information, but you don't want to do the work kind of thing. So I'm finding that artists can really collaborate more now. I really think we should collaborate more now
Mhm.
because we're all in the same boat technically. I think this is the best time to try going back to things like mailing information out or emails a lot more of surprise phone calls. Part of my 31 days
Mhm.
campaign, I'm going to surprise some of my fans just to say hello. I think that hands-on thing is what people need more than ever, and I think you can never go wrong by really touching people where it matters, which is caring. And I think artists have a big influence to do that. So I'm seeing a lot of that. And I just think the industry is at an interesting place, and it depends on what side of the coin are you looking at it, and what you're going to do about it. I think a lot of even the labels are kind of speechless. You know what I mean? And companies like Remark and artists like myself and other artists who are really taking advantage of partnerships and helping other artists know how to do more things outside of the box and not just rely on a manager or an executive is where things are going to really change, to me, I really think. But I would love to hear from more people about what do they feel about the live streams. I'm sure everyone's getting tired of them. You know, that's why this one was my first one. I was like, I don't want to be live streaming all the time. You know what I mean? Um, and so it's just an interesting thing. How do we monetize? How do we continue to sustain ourselves in this economy, especially artists, especially artists? So I'm thinking about a lot, and moving into the executive role has been a blast. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love that the idea of, giving back first. And that's something I've definitely talked about with a lot of artists is, being able to share your experience, whether that's working with labels or going on tour or performing with different artists and be able to just kind of get that behind the scenes kind of look and what it's about. And that's it's a great way, even as to grow a business like Remark, to be able to start doing things like this. We're sharing information or sharing our perspective and our experience. I think that's one, great way to kind of get people engaged in the conversation. I think there should be, a lot more education in the space, definitely, to make sure that, a lot of artists don't necessarily know that there are these other opportunities to engage with fans or to make a living or things like that. There's platforms also that don't necessarily get talked about as much, like Bandcamp, where you can kind of build these direct-to-fan relationships, or Bandcamp often waives a lot of their platform fees, where they're really trying to support artists and build sustainable businesses for artists that way. So there's lots of really cool opportunities out there.
You just said something very interesting before I let you go. What aggregator do you feel is really doing the best for artists in general? And of course, I'm an independent artist, so I'm going to speak from that perspective.
Mhm.
But you said Bandcamp. I'm not on Bandcamp. Do you think we should really be on there? Like, what makes it different?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Bandcamp is a little bit like iTunes in that it's more you purchase. You can purchase songs or individual tracks or the whole album. So it's definitely for a different type of customer or fan, consumer, who's not necessarily looking to have the greatest actually playlist and listen to it in their car. It's more of like having a more direct listening experience and being able to buy that music and support the artist directly. So it's another way of artist supporting. And I definitely believe that artists should be on as many platforms as possible. And Bandcamp's a great one. There are other ones, like I've been checking out. One is called Loom, Lum, which is a pretty interesting take on streaming. It kind of combines Facebook and Instagram social platforms with a kind of a SoundCloud model where you can upload your own music directly in the platform. But they also have this cool thing where you can directly send money to fans through tipping, or they have their own kind of in-platform coin. So it's a little bit like a game where you can reward different creators that you like. So there's lots of different platforms to be out there. I would just say go out and, as a creator, find which one you feel you can authentically engage with, and then pick your favorites. I mean, you don't have to be on all of them, but I think it's important to check them all out at least.
Wow. Okay. Well, someone did ask, is there going to be a Remark Music Festival? I think that you should really start thinking about
Hey,
that. And I guess they said that they came up with the idea, so you need to pay them for that idea. But
all right, let's do it.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Jeremy, for kicking off 31 Days of Ashley Tamar. We will replay this for more artists to be able to find out about you guys and more about what's going on and how to really monetize and get out there. And I just cannot say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you today, and looking forward to engaging with you more on future podcasts or maybe a clubhouse or something like that. And yeah, thanks so much for a great conversation and for inviting me to your live stream today.
I know. Thank you so much. And you guys tell thank you to Jeremy. And until next time, thank you
Until
guys.
next time, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.